Hello, friends and fellow adventurers. My name is Tyler with the MNmaxed podcast, and I am here with you this evening to start my first stream in a series of live streams that I'll be doing every Thursday at 7:30 Central, where I will be actively converting a Pathfinder 1st Edition Adventure Path to Pathfinder 2nd Edition. And tonight, I'm going to be streaming for about an hour here. I'd like to just cover with everybody what exactly we're going to be doing, what my plan is for tonight, and really with everything moving forward. In regards to how we're going to be handling the conversion, what adventure path we're converting, and a little bit about my process during the whole thing. Hey guys, nice to see you all in the chat. Ooh, nice. What's up, Tyrion? Nice to see you. Alex, nice to see you too, buddy. So we're just getting started here, so we're going to just start off with a couple of basics, really, before we dive full bore into this thing. I'm still really new to this whole Twitch thing, right? So, Corey, hey. Still really new to this whole Twitch thing. So I'm going to be doing a little bit of learning along with the whole process and just see how it goes. I've got some things set up and just some music going in the background, just something chill since we're just going to be really hanging out together tonight, and we'll talk about how everything is going. A couple of things right away. There's been a lot of news in the Paizo sphere recently in regards to announcements that Paizo is doing, new products that they're putting out, some new Lost Omens lines books that they're going to be putting out. I'm very, very excited to see what some of this stuff looks like, especially with the announcement of the Impossible Lands Lost Omens book. That one is going to be fun, especially considering it includes the space where guns and the mana waste are, and all of those really cool things. I'm actually really interested in seeing what they have to do with Jalmaray. More Jalmaray would be fun, but on top of the fact that they're actually going to be releasing one of their, probably at this point, most successful half adventure paths. It's a level 1 to 10 adventure, Abomination Vaults, and they're going to be releasing it as a D&D 5th edition conversion. There's a lot of feelings in the community about that one right now, and I'm going to keep all of them to myself because that's not what I'm here for. Clickbait time. I see you, Corey. So let's just kind of dive into it. I'm going to start off by talking a little bit about what we're going to be converting tonight and for the next, gosh, I don't know how long this is going to take. I do my own conversion for our podcast, Mithril Dragon Wagon, which is a first edition Return of the Rune Lords adventure. And Return is a really interesting adventure that means a lot to me, or at least the Rune Lords trilogy means a lot to me and my table. And, we're going to be... I don't want to get into that because that conversion is very table specific for my table. And there's 5 players, which really throws a wrench into the whole conversion process. So that's going to be something that's going to be, I'm going to keep that under my belt. Probably until I'm finished recording and releasing Return of the Rune Lords. So that one, we'll kind of see how it plays out. That might not come out for a while. We're doing bi-weekly releases on that particular pod. If you have just joined us for the first time and you're catching this on demand, or you're live here and you've never heard of us before, MNmaxed is a Pathfinder 2nd Edition actual play podcast. MNmaxed is our main show. We run Extinction Curse, which is a Pathfinder 2nd Edition adventure, and then we have a side feed that is called Mithril Dragon Wagon, and that is our Return of the Rune Lords converted from 1st Edition to 2nd Edition adventure path. But I feel like I'm vamping too much here. Let's get into it. What I'm going to be converting is an adventure path that I've always had interest in, but to be honest, I've never read. So this will be the very first time I've ever even looked at this AP, and we're going to go through it together. I'm going to start off by showing you some of the tools that I use in regards to converting. There are a lot of different tools that are available out there for you, but there's one that I really, really enjoy more than most of the others. And I'm going to take it as an opportunity to kind of plug one of our pod buddies over at Rise of the Rule Lords. They don't do that's Rise of the Rule Lords. I can't remember his name for the life of me, but he's the moderator of the Pathfinder 2nd Edition subreddit, Dogs Not Gods, user Dogs Not Gods. And he has a conversion guide that is called Kobolds to Kobolds. So I'm going to kind of switch it over here to this scene. Kobolds to Kobolds is probably, in my opinion, there are a couple of other conversion guides out there. This one is my favorite, specifically because it is very clean, it's easy to read, and it's very, very clear. In fact, you can see here it starts off with a too long didn't read, and we'll go through the steps of the conversion process just as a broad overview, but I want to take a point to highlight step one here. You gotta buy the PDFs from Paizo when you're going to do these conversions. The first edition PDFs are insanely inexpensive. They've been on the market for a while. This particular conversion that we're doing with Council of Thieves is I believe it was released in 2008 or 2009. It's been out there for a really long time. Not exactly the most beloved first edition adventure path, probably not even the most hated. It's just kind of somewhere in between, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to touch on it. But also, it really seems to, based on the summary that I've gotten, is kind of that morally gray area for parties, which is my table's specialty. Morally gray is what we do best, and yet, even though the adventure's been out for a good long while, Paizo releases all of their rules online for free. So anything that in my opinion here, and this is just Tyler's opinion, not MNmaxed's opinion, Paizo doesn't pay me to say this, but they're a great company filled with beautiful people, and it really is it's really easy, or it's really good to support them in what they do, because I believe that the biggest benefit that Paizo brings to the tabletop game sphere in regards to D20 systems is that these people are passionate about what they do. Very, very passionate about what they do. So buy their content. The hard books are great. The story info is great. It's just, they deserve it. Truly, they do. So enough shilling. Let's move on here. The easy advice that Dogs Not Gods gives right out of the gate is just to skim the module. And that is really, really key here. When it comes to conversion, the points of the world and the story and your NPCs are not going to change. They're not going to change from first edition to second edition. So we're specifically going to be picking out numbers, creatures, DCs, gold, anything that really has a number attached to it, as well as any spells that are there. We're really just looking to pull the numbers to make for quick conversions. One of the second things he points out here is we go for the spirit of the module, not the exact conversion. This one's really important for me too. When I'm converting, and I do this a lot with return, the biggest thing that I keep to the forefront of my mind is, why is this rules element in the story? And how can you make sure that the spirit of that particular rules element, whether it be treasure or a creature or a DC or anything of that nature, what is it doing there? Why is it there? And you'll find out really quickly with me as we do this week over week, the reason that is important is for creatures, and in my opinion, treasure is important too. But treasure's a big beast, and I'm gonna get to that later. There is a table that you can use to convert DCs. The table is a little bit down lower. It makes the process very, very easy which is made even easier beyond the table with a tool that got put onto the Easy Tool resource that's online, which is pf2.easytool.es, or just pf2.tools. They've got a lot of really fun tools there, and the actual tables and some of the math actually is directly in that tool, and we'll cover that in a little bit. So, oh no, Pickle, you pointed it out. Okay, I'll have to fix the logo. Sorry, I get a little backwards on that. So anyways, there's that. The other thing that we're looking at is the action tree, the Easy Tool action tree. It auto adjusts stats for you with a +1, -1 to level. The reason this is important is that sometimes the challenge rating in first edition to the threat level in second edition, that's what it's called in second edition, your threat level. In first edition, it's called CR. Those are not 1-for-1 translations from one to the other. Unlike first edition, second edition assumes that you are giving challenges to your players based on a particular level. So that's something to keep in mind. Because PF2 is very level based with its math, that's something that we have to keep up front. Now, the sixth thing that's on the list here is that there is no 1-to-1 gold point conversion rate between the editions. This I cannot overstate. There is no way. There is just no way. It's the weirdest decimal for conversion, and it's not even the same between gold at different levels. There's a table, but one of the biggest differences, if you're new to second edition and you're a first edition player and you're looking for something like, a first edition adventure to play for second edition, in case there's nothing that PF2 offers you from an AP or adventure path standpoint that you want, silver is the standard currency for second edition, which is very different from what it was in first edition. Gold was your common currency in first edition. That is not the case in second edition, and that's really important for us to keep in mind. We'll go in more detail with the gold conversion later, but that one point, that there is no 1-to-1 gold point conversion rate between the editions, is extraordinarily important. So we'll come back to that in a more specific way later. Last here is just a little style point, really for a personal preference when it comes to converting. The pf2.tools website has some built-in web applications that you can actually build your creatures, build your hazards, your traps, so that when you're done with it, you can save it and it looks like a second edition stat block. And that's kind of cool when it comes down to keeping your style with it, and ease of reading, and all of that good stuff. So let's see. Corey's got a question. Did they ever explain that in lore on why suddenly that switched? No, with the gold point ratio, they really didn't. And I don't think I've ever really looked into that, to be honest with you. I'm sure there's a good reason for it. But it's just, yeah, I don't know. I'm going to have to look into that. I'm going to make myself, I've got a little notepad over here for making notes, because I am curious about that. I'm going to do some research into it. If anybody knows, the answer to that question, Corey and I would love to hear it. And I'm sure, she cares about it just as much as I do, because where these things fit in to the lore is important. So anyways, let's kind of move forward here a little bit. And again, we're still just covering over Dogs Not Gods, Kobolds to Kobolds Adventure Conversion Guide to Second Edition. Now, what he does next is lays out his style guides here. I have kind of taken his whole mapping for this section on what he looks like when he's putting it together and converting it. Mine doesn't look exactly the same. In fact, here is the base template that I use for my Return of the Rune Lords conversion. I just copy paste this template into new sheets as I'm going from chapter to chapter. But that's more of a personal preference. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you have to match everything that's in here perfectly. It's not necessary. We'll get used to this together as we're going about it. I'm pretty used to it myself already, but the way that this gets laid out is really helpful just for keeping track of things. Now, he's going to start going into the actual details after that, but before I get that far, I want to take it a point to, let's see here, the converting tool. So I am a big fan of the pf2easytool.es website, because Ivan here, I don't know if it's Ivan. Is it Ivan? I don't want to get his name wrong. Yeah, Ivan. Ivan is the guy who does the who put this thing together in the first place. He did some good coding for this. It's a little bit out of date because Archives of Nethys does get things first when it comes to adventures and the rules to put into the PRDs here. But for speed, I enjoyed this. Now, this particular tool, as you can see, it is just straight out called Converting Adventures from First to Second Edition. And it has a couple of interesting things in it. I'm going to point out first the closest that he can get on a gold conversion guide. And I'm just going to go ahead and plug something in here. There's something in the Council of Thieves Players Guide that we're going to be taking a look at. And one of the backgrounds, or what it used to be called traits in First Edition, gives the player with the background just a 300 gold starting allotment, which is... it's a decent amount, right? In First Edition, that's really not bad. It's not as good as Rich Parents, mind you. Rich Parents back in the day, I think, gave you like 900 gold to start with. But it's still a good chunk of change for a beginning level player. 300 gold in First Edition roughly converts to 22 gold and 5 silver, which is still a lot. In fact, that even seems a little too much for me at first level, and we'll touch on that when we get to the first piece of what we're going to be converting later on. But then the other thing is that this fancy little guy right here, this little section, this box, character level, 1 EDC and a 2 EDC, this really is the easiest way to make sure that you at least are ballparking your DCs correctly. So let's just throw a number out there. You've got a first level character who needs to succeed a, let's say, DC 15 check. A DC 15 translates to a 16 DC in Second Edition. And when it comes to converting DCs, truly, this is almost all you need. Now, of course, more esoteric or rare information or harder checks are going to adjust up. And there's a table that we'll take a look at when we come across it for that part of it. And of course, there are some things that are just straight easier to do, like, swimming on calm waters. Jumping a 5-foot gap doesn't even need to be a thing in Second Edition anymore, for example, because of the leap basic action. So there are a bunch of things to take into consideration when adjusting up and down. I'm going to touch back on the point that I made early on, is keep the style of the adventure in your head, and why does the rules element exist, and what purpose does it serve at your table? That's going to help you make sure that you get the proper DCs here. So those are the two biggest tools that I use when I'm converting from First to Second Edition. There are going to be little things that we come across as we're doing the conversion here, and we'll touch on those as they happen. We'll take a look at what populates or what rules element we're looking at, why that rules element is there, and how we can make it work for us. But I think that's some of the resources that I've got out. I will be posting, I'm sure. I'll put it in the video on demand if I can on Twitch. Again, still new to the Twitch thing. This is live on YouTube right now too, so something on YouTube, I'll go ahead and put it in the description when everything is done, all the resources that I use for this process. But that's the beginning here. Let's kind of dig into the meat and potatoes of this thing. I'm going to show you, it's been kind of hanging out on the side here. This is the Council of Thieves Player's Guide. Now, this is probably going to be, we're going to be converting the player's guide first because this is important. It requires a little bit of attention, and we'll talk about what kind of attention I'm talking about in a little bit when we get there. But I'm going to be showing you this on stream because the player's guide is free. You don't have to buy it. You can get any player's guide for any of the adventure paths free of charge on Paizo's website. So I'm going to be showing it for this. For future streams on the conversion here, I will not be showing the PDFs. I don't want anybody to skim data off of it, taking money out of Paizo's pocket in that regard. I like the company. I want to make sure they get paid. So this will be the only time we get to see this, but look at the map, look at the art here. I always love Paizo's art. It's gorgeous. This is a very simple backdrop, truly, of the city that this is all going to be taking place in. But let's get down here. All of the thanks. I haven't read this yet. I haven't read this. Like I mentioned earlier, I kind of skimmed some of the backgrounds since that's where, let's see. Pickle says we're getting a little bit of desync. Anybody having audio, video desync testing? I don't know why I always have that issue, Pickle. Maybe I need to update some things. I'll do some troubleshooting later. Well, let's see how it goes. But anyways, so as we're getting into this, I want to take my first opportunity to point out, as I didn't even notice this when I was reading it before, the flavor text right on the top of here, thrown into chaos after the death of the god Eredin. For fuck's sake, how many APs is Eredin going to be almost directly responsible for in some way, shape, or form? Here we are, the first sentence of the damn thing. We bring Eredin right into this thing. God damn it, Eredin. Every time. Okay. Anyways. Yeah, Corey makes a good point here. Almost all of them tie into Eredin. God of humanity. God, it's a pretty standard story trope, the hubris of man, and who better to represent man than the god of humans in the Galarian lore. But I digress. The first chunk of any player's guide from first edition is going to give you some real basics. It's going to give you the how to use the guide, what kind of setting you're going to be in. For Council of Thieves, it takes place in the country of Cheliax. Cheliax, and although I'm not the biggest lore junkie, I do get into Pathfinder lore. David, he's in the podcast, is much more heavy on the Pathfinder lore and Galarian lore than I am. But I know enough to be dangerous. Chillax. The Cheliax is an interesting place. If you were to throw an alignment on Cheliax as a country, lawful evil describes it to a T. House Thrune is one of the noble houses in Cheliax, made a deal with the devil, long story short, and now it is very, very heavily tied to devils and Asmodeus. In fact, Asmodeus, your Satan or the devil in your Galarian lore, among other Pathfinder, or sorry, not Pathfinder, tabletop RPG lores, Asmodeus or some iteration of him is found pretty frequently. That being said, Cheliax is where the country where this takes place. And from what I understand of the beginning text of Council of Thieves, it takes place in a city called West Crown, or the West Crown region, and will primarily take place in and around West Crown. It's a focal point of the entire adventure path. So aside from the whole conversion process, is this adventure right for your table? One of the things you're really going to have to ask yourself is your table or your party, your players, okay with primarily staying in one place? Do they have a reason to tie themselves to this city, this locale? Those are all things that you want to consider when you're picking an adventure path for your party. This one is not a tour of Galarian. This one is not your dungeon diving every book. I mean, of course, there's going to be some dungeons in there. I'm sure there are. But it's, this isn't Abomination Vaults. This isn't Shattered Star. You're not going to see all dungeons all the time in this AP, which I don't mind. Council of Thieves, just the name implies that you're going to be dealing with thieves, or at least, your, again, morally gray areas. From the text that I read, the most important thing here is that the city that it takes place in the area in and around West Crown has begun to just fall apart after Eridan died, and Cheliax, is throwing their lot in with Asmodeus. So what we're going to see here is a lot of your heroes being tied to the city and to want to have a reason to save it. And that's going to get down into a lot of the backgrounds that we're going to get to here in a second. We're going to skip past a lot of these first pages. The big thing here with what you see is going to help your players discover what type of ancestry they want to be, how that ancestry may fit into Cheliax and into the West Crown area. Agorian, that's the name of the city. Agorian. And what they can do with that. So we're just, again, skip past this. Then we do the classes. What do the classes do in Agorian and the West Crown area, etc., etc. Ooh, Hell Knights. I'm sure we're going to be touching a lot on Hell Knights during this conversion process, but we'll get to that when we come across it. Let's see. Here we go. This is, when it comes to the conversion process, probably the most important part to start. You're going to want to do this before you even get your players down at the table to build characters. And that's going to be, for first edition, what was called campaign traits. It's no longer called campaign traits in second edition. Now things like traits are replaced with backgrounds. Now campaign traits in first edition were just a little bit of flavor that you throw onto your character. You get a little extra gold maybe, or you get a +1 to this skill, or you're always trained in this skill, etc., etc. Backgrounds are quite a bit different in Pathfinder 2nd edition. So let's just take a moment and let's look at backgrounds, because that's going to be what we're going to be really touching on here, converting these over from campaign traits, or the traits of first edition, over to second edition. So here's just a list of the traits. Let's pick something from, here, let's go artisan, just because it's simple. So backgrounds give, it's a very simple structure to work off of. You'll notice here that as a point of style, your first paragraph in a background is always going to be just a brief summary of what your character, as you're building them, does before they become an adventurer. For the artisan, as an apprentice, you practice a particular form of building or crafting, developing a specialized skill. You might have been a blacksmith's apprentice, toiling over the forge for countless hours, a young tailor sewing garments of all kinds, or a shipwright shaping the hulls of ships. This first part isn't important to us in regards to the conversion process. Here's what is important. Every background, not including rare backgrounds, we'll see if we feel that's necessary later on, but every background allows you to choose 2 ability boosts, and your first ability boost is a choice between 2 of the 6 ability scores: strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. The important thing from a conversion standpoint, the first boost is the one you have to actually think about. The second boost is just a free boost the vast majority of the time. So let's think a little bit about what the artisan does. If you're looking at a blacksmith apprentice or a tailor or a shipwright, you're going to be either stronger than your normal character or have that boost to strength or some more intelligence. And that's reflected in this choice between the 2. So that's the first thing that you need to do with a background. The second thing that you need to do with a background is you need to give the player a first level skill feat, free training in a particular skill, and free training in a particular lore skill. So that's 4 major things. Is that 4 ability boosts? skill training, lore skill training, and a skill feat. First level skill feat's going to be your best option. So that's what we're going to be thinking of. Those 4 things when we're doing this conversion. So let's leave. We're going to leave this up in the background for reference, but we'll come back to it in a moment. First, let's take a look at the very first campaign trait. Child of infamy. Your family has long been in show business. Ooh, interesting. Perhaps it was your parents or an older sibling or an uncle or aunt. Whatever the case, one of your close relatives is or was a well-known or well-loved actor or actress. Okay, so this is pretty good right there. We're not going to need a ton more than that because, oh, no, I take that back. That this relation died in some compromising and embarrassing way has done little to alter your family's name and fame. If anything, the unfortunate death has increased it. So this is super specific. This is going to be a performer who is part of a family that's well known, but your family had an unfortunate death. So interesting. When it comes to performance arts, that's absolutely true. That would be something, there's no such thing as bad publicity, unfortunately. All right, let's see if we can get down to the crux of what we have here. Let's see. You've certainly inherited your relative's talents and are a larger-than-life figure, a melodramatic attention hound, or a sly manipulator of emotions. Here we go. You gain a +1 trait bonus on perform and skill checks, the perform act skill check, and the skill is always considered a class skill for you. Furthermore, you've inherited some of your relatives' funds and begin play with a nest egg of 300 gold. This is what I saw when I was skimming, was this particular one that you can spend however you wish. All right, so let's think about, this is the son or daughter of a performer, and that son or daughter of a performer or, a performing family member, what 2 traits are going to be important for a performer? Well, the first one that comes to mind is absolutely charisma. Charisma 100% comes to mind on this. So I've got myself a new spreadsheet here that we're starting. Let's go Council of Thieves conversion guide. Now, I don't have all the fancy tables and everything set up here. We'll do the formatting later. Right now, we are just aiming for a quick and dirty entrance of all of the details here. So let's go traits to backgrounds. So the first one that we're looking at is, what was this one called? Child of Infamy. So Child of Infamy. When you're looking to, no, I gotta spell infamy right. We need the scores. So we got charisma or, let's go dexterity. Dexterity seems correct. This is an actor, right? The perform act skill is what's here. I would say dexterity can certainly come into play when we're talking about theatrics and things like that. Let's see. Ability score. All right, so that's the first thing. The second thing that we need is a trained skill. This one's pretty simple, I think. Automatically trained and perform. It's already laid out in the guide here that you get that. Hold on, Pickle's asking me a question. Once your conversions are all done, do you edit the PDF with your content typed up? Oh, I actually do a reference. So I keep the tables up as reference. From a personal standpoint in my Turn of the Rune Lords game, I actually use the table to directly convert the adventure from what I purchased in Fantasy Grounds, actually. So I'll just go through and highlight everything in Fantasy Grounds, change the relevant numbers, add in the relevant creatures, and that way my flow of play during game night doesn't actually change at all. That might be something that I'll cover a little bit later. That might be a good thing to do. Thanks for bringing that up, Pickle. Okay, so we got the trained skill here. The next thing that comes up is the lore skill. This one seems pretty simple to me. Perform. Let's go theater, not thirder. Theater, yeah, that's right, R-E. Theater or acting. Really specific, but that's the point behind a lore skill. And then this one's interesting, actually. So normally I would say let's go with a skill feat here. So we can either do something that would... Corey, I do use the universal mod for Fantasy Grounds that lets me use 1E content for the 2E rule set. It's the easiest way to do it. It can get a little finicky sometimes, especially with items and spells that are in there, but it is what I have been using for return, and it's been going very well so far, in my opinion. Let's see. So a skill feat in this one's interesting. Do we want to give the player for this a nest egg? You know, that gold to start off right to begin with, or do we want to tie them to a skill feat? Well, let's think. We're likely going to have, let's see, skill feats. Let's go here, tree library, skill feats. We're looking for first level skill feats. And since perform is kind of what we're going with here, let's see what the performance skill feats are at first level. No, that's not what I'm looking for. Assurance, blah, blah, blah. Okay, impressive performance. You can make an impression using performance instead of diplomacy. Not bad, not bad. Maybe not quite. Virtuosic performer. Okay. You gain a +1 circumstance bonus when making a certain type of performance. If you're a master in performance, the bonus increases to a +2. And you choose a following specialty. Oh, okay. I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all. So let's go with virtuosic performer. Let's drop that into the skill feat. Oh, good God, that was a bad idea. I'll just type it in. And let's make acting the specific skill feat for that. But let's go ahead and let's be generous. Let's give an alternative choice here. We'll replace the skill feat with the option to have a nest egg. Yeah, 22 gold for a starting character is insanely high in 2nd edition. Insanely high. Let's see, is there a skill feat for the earn income activity? That's a good question. Earn income, various skill action. You know what? Okay, let's take a look at this specifically. A first level trained will use 2 silver for every downtime income earned action. Ugh. Let's do this. Just because the nest egg is a big starting bit, a really big starting bit. Let's see, they can have the option to swap out the skill feat for 5 gold. And, you know, Tyrion, you're right. You're right. Most feats will change what you can use to earn the income for. So let's just give it as an option. I don't see a lot of folks using downtime, but I have a feeling this one is going to have a lot of opportunity for downtime. Let's just assume that we might want to come back to that one. And let's move forward here. What do we got next? Conspiracy Hunter. Oh, this one's a little shorter. You've long heard rumors of dark deeds afoot in Westcrown, shipments of valuable cargo that go missing with nary a trace or question asked, people who disappear as though they never existed, lords of business and nobles who speak in veiled references and accidental slips of masters, even they must obey. What lords ruled Westcrown underworld? Do the tales of far-reaching criminal organizations hold a hint of truth? Could the fabled Council of Thieves, said to have been purged from the city ages ago, have somehow survived and reformed? Okay, so this one's interesting. You don't know, but you're determined to find out. Okay, so this is good. This is, you know, the Conspiracy Hunter. It's the... this would be a good investigator background for this campaign, actually. So let's see what this particular background gets us. Let's see... Choose one of the following skills: bluff, diplomacy, knowledge, local, perception, sense motive, or stealth. Okay, so let's think about what the stats that go into each of those things. Bluff is charisma, diplomacy is charisma, knowledge local is intelligence, perception, wisdom, sense motive, wisdom, stealth, dexterity. I like wisdom here. Wisdom makes a lot of sense. So first let's go Conspiracy Hunter. I like wisdom. Wisdom is a good choice, I believe, to begin with. We already have a dex choice here, but I don't feel like dex or even intelligence is right here. Okay. I see you, Pickle. Experienced professional. That's not a bad alternative feat for Child of Infamy. Let's... Oh, no. An experienced professional is probably what we're talking about. Let's see. Yep. I like that. Hero point, Pickle. Okay, so to get back to the Conspiracy Hunter for a second. Wisdom. What else here? I feel like Dex might be useful. But if you're going to be doing a lot of investigating, I actually feel like intelligence is probably going to be more appropriate here. Conspiracy Hunter. This sounds really familiar. I know there's a background that's close. Let's look up Bounty Hunter, just as a comparison for a moment in the background. See, they do strength or wisdom. But the bounty hunter's bringing in bounties, which explains the strength there. So the conspiracy hunter is not necessarily bringing things in. They're using their intelligence and their wisdom to try to track down these conspiracies. So I'm happy with leaving it at wisdom and intelligence. The second one's free. Let's see. This one has you trained in survival skill and the legal lore. But for the trained skill, it makes sense to me that society would be where you would start. Or maybe survival. We'll make that choice a little bit later. I like both, actually. Oh, no, not the council. Get that away. Oh, no. Kill it. There we go. Survival. All right. I'll make that choice a little bit later. I'm not entirely certain which of the two I really want at this moment. Lore skill. Lore skill, this is where we get very specific. Let's see. I feel like Underworld lore makes sense. I feel like Underworld lore makes a lot of sense here. So let's go with Underworld. Obviously, if you're investigating these conspiracies and you're really looking into all of the dark things that happen in the West Crown area, I think Underworld is going to really fit for this skill choice. So let's leave it at that. Let's see what chat's saying about the survival society trained skill. Hive of scum and villainy lore. I love that. That's good stuff. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you know what? Tyrion and Pickle, you both make a good point. Survival does really seem to be more of a nature wilderness themed, and given the locale here, we're, staging in a once great city, society does seem to play in a little more here. So let's leave it with society. All right, now we're going to be looking at skill feats. Now, what I really like doing with the skill feats when I'm converting these is let's not do it that way. Skill feat. I like picking the skill that we went with and taking a look at those first level skill feats. So what do we have? Promote the circus. Let's see. Untrained, okay. Courtly graces, interesting. Oh, you know what? Conspiracy hunter, dubious knowledge without a doubt. Dubious knowledge is perfect for this. Dubious knowledge. And I don't even think I want an alternative choice for that. I'm very happy with that one so far. Very happy with that one so far. All right. So let's take a look at what we got next. Diabolist raised. Diabolist? We'll see what happens. All your life, you've lived within the grip of devil-possessed Cheliax. You care little for the religion of your country, but that is the way of life in the most magnificent empire in the world. And who are you to question the faith of the empire's rulers? Certainly not a fool like some of your more idealistic acquaintances, possessed of bizarre ideals about personal freedoms and egalitarian rulership. Who can say whatever happened to them? You know of hell and the rigidity of its grim rulers. You've seen the devils and how they might be employed to the betterment of those to the betterment of those with the might to control them. And you know of the dark faith of your country. You might not be a devil worshiper yourself, but there are realities living in Cheliax, and it's always good to know what's really going on behind the scenes. Okay, so this particular trait, this background trait, campaign trait really strikes me as the realist. You live in Cheliax. You know that devils are involved. Hell is there. And you know what? That's just the way of the world. That's just the way Cheliax is. So, and I feel like this player, this character, whoever is rolling up this is really not rejecting the evil necessarily, but they're not embracing it. This seems to me to be more of a knowledge-based or intelligence-based bit. So let's read the rules on this. Your knowledge of diabolism. Oh, I'm not going to be able to pronounce that correctly. Diabolism. Words. Grants you a +1 bonus to bluff, diplomacy, intimidate, sense motive. Again, we're looking at charisma and wisdom. Specifically made against Breastcrown's nobility, and a +1 bonus to all saving throws against mind-affecting attacks from devils. Okay, that +1 bonus on saving throws against devils, there is no good conversion to that. There is just no good conversion for that in 2nd edition, in my opinion. So let's really focus on the feel of this one. I don't think we're going to be able to do a direct conversion about it. So let's do this. We've got our Diabolist. I think I'm getting better at that word. The Diabolist raised. Intelligence is important. There are no fools. At least I feel like intelligence important. Part of me wants to say wisdom as well as 2, so that kind of puts it in the same boat as Conspiracy Hunter to an extent. You know, and I seem to be focusing a lot on the mental-based stats so far. There's just the 2 that we've done. So let's do this. With that +1 to saving throws made against mind-affecting attacks from devils in mind, let's go ahead and add this to wisdom. Not only are you smart enough to know about some of the things that happened with the devils and the devil worship that happens in Cheliax, but you're wise enough to not question your betters. Constitution. You know, I was thinking about that, Pickle. Constitution was the first thing I thought. It doesn't necessarily tie to will saves, though. But I like the idea from living in a tough world. And Tyrion, that's a good point. If you make a save against devils and fiends, that's pretty powerful for first level, though, especially considering we're in Cheliax. Like, that is absolutely going to be happening more than once. I can guarantee it. That seems a little uptuned, but I'll keep that in mind. Pickle, I'm coming back. I'm doing what I've got this. Constitution seems right to me. Okay. Let's see. So intelligence or con. Yeah, I like that. I like that as ability scores. Okay, trained skills. And we're looking at trained skills here. God, how do you identify devils? I feel like is a religion check. Even though it specifically says that you're not religious, you are aware of and are knowledgeable of some of the devils that happen. And I quietly switch of your players is this, and why is it Ted? I did quietly ignore that, didn't I? Yeah, that is Ted to a T, isn't it? Yeah, I like religion on this one. Not because you are religious, but because you have knowledge of the devils. Yep, Tommy 5 Cent. We are looking at a tool that is in the pf2easytool.es. If you go to the website and just type in convert, you'll get the converting adventures from first edition tool. Very, very useful tool. Okay, so let's see. I'm still in dubious knowledge, but that's not what I'm looking for. What am I looking for? Religion is the train skill. Okay, so for lore skill, we can really nail down on this, and the Diabolist, I fucked it up again. The Diabolist raised really does seem to hone in on the devil side of it, the knowledge of it. But it also gives you all these additional bonuses to checks made against West Crown's nobility. Yeah. Yeah, I like devil lore. It does. It makes sense. It is highly specific, and we're already giving this particular player the tool to identify devils. But as we all know, or maybe we don't, lore skill DCs to identify creatures are lower when you're using a specific lore skill. So if you come across a barbed devil, for example, and you try to recall knowledge on it, the DC for a religion check to identify that devil and the DC for the lore check to identify that devil is going to be lower. So lore DC is lower, skill DC or religion DC on that would be higher. So yeah, I like that. Let's go with Lord Devil on that. Which brings us to the skill feat. Let's see. So we're looking at religion. This one might be a little tough because we don't actually want any skill feats that directly tie to a religion itself. What is this? Diabolic Certitude. It's Hell Knight Armiger feat. Let's stay away from that. I'm going to keep that one in mind, though. A lore skill feat might not be a bad idea, Tyrion. Good call, good call. Additional lore, armor, experienced professional. No, not crafting food and drink with seasons. No, I didn't think that would look right. Experienced professional doesn't feel right either. Thorough reports? Pathfinder agent feat, that's not going to work for me. You know what? I like additional lore to this. I do, because devils are certainly going to be a primary adversary, or maybe not adversary, a big part in life in Cheliax and Nagorian and West Crown most likely as well. But maybe what we're really looking for is the ability to give the player the option to expand out and specialize even further than just devils. Maybe we could, allow them to choose a lore about West Crown nobility, or maybe even have them choose a lore about demonic rituals and things of that nature. I like that. Let's go with additional lore. Okay. I don't necessarily feel like there needs to be an alternative choice for that one either, so let's go beyond that. And dive into Infernal Bastard. Sorry, that was probably loud. Infernal Bastard. All right. You're a tiefling. Oh, this actually has like entry requirements. Oh, big question marks on this one. Tiefling requirements? I'm uncertain about that, but I'm keeping it in mind. I'm going to keep it in mind. You are a tiefling. You might be an escaped slave, a hidden shame, or a homeless vagabond. But whatever your upbringing, life has been particularly hard on you. You have suffered greatly, nearly starving to death one winter, nearly being beaten to death by racist sailors one summer, and so on. Whether or not these experiences have made you a bitter and cynical scoundrel or a pious and hopeful optimist is up to you. But one thing is certain. You are something less than even your tiefling kin. Oh, perhaps it is a result of your hard life, or perhaps it is due to some fault in your fiendish heritage. But you lack a tiefling's standard resistances to cold, electricity, and fire. Okay. This is interesting. This is very interesting. Okay, so if we're looking at this particular campaign trait, takes away from tiefling standard resistances to cold, electricity, and fire, which is built into first edition. It is not the case, I don't believe, for second edition. Let's look at the tiefling ancestry, or sorry, the versatile heritage for tiefling. They get low light vision or dark vision. Dark vision if your ancestry already has low light vision. Yeah, and just kind of like I thought, there's a way for you to gain some of these things. I think there's got to be like fiendish resistance in here. I know I've looked at this before. Riftmark, Shackleborn. I know some of these actually give you some of those resistances. Let's take a look at Beast Brood here real quick. Beast Brood. No, that really doesn't. One of your ancestors was a Rakshasa. This one might be really hard. This one's going to be tough. Yeah, level 5, you're right. Jason, thank you. Oh. And yeah, Pickle, back in first edition, tieflings had all of those resistances right out of the gate. Let's think. I want to come back to this campaign trait. It makes a lot of first edition assumptions that we just don't have in second edition. Truly, we just don't have. Being locked out of a 5th level ancestry feat isn't really something that you see. Or being locked out of ancestry feats from the choice of a background is not something that you see in backgrounds. In second edition. And I don't want to start off this trait with something that takes away before giving, because we have to really give back to that. We're going to come back to that one. Really, that one's throwing me for a loop. I might look at that one outside of stream to consider it. I'm going to see if chat's got any good ideas. Corey, no, I don't think. I mean, Aasimar did get some resistances. Aasimar. They did get some resistances in first edition, but I think Tiefling had up on them and some of those resistances. At the very least, they were resistant to the things that were more common, like your fire and your electricity and your cold. Infernal Bastard, specifically, Jason, you are a Tiefling. You might have... Here, actually, you know what? I'm just going to bring that up front for you. Long story short, you're a tiefling, but you're less maybe than a standard tiefling. They're a little weaker. You don't get all the benefits of being a tiefling. But the thing is with second edition is that the tiefling heritage on its own doesn't give you much aside from access to tiefling feats and low light vision or dark vision if your ancestry already had low light vision. That's why this one's so tough to me. It's just very difficult. Yeah, I am going to come back to this one. I am. We're gonna touch on that one a little bit later. Let's move on to the next one. Shadow Child. Shadow Child. West Crown has long suffered under a peculiar... Okay. West Crown has long suffered under a a curse. Under a curse. A blight that rises every night, bringing with it fell beasts that hunt the shadows. That's interesting. That gives us a little bit of insight into the adventure already. No one can say from whence these night horrors came, though some blame the mysterious wizards of Nidal. Others claim that it's some curse laid by fallen Eredin. fucking Narradin. While others still suggest some shadowy mastermind manipulates the Ebon Brood or an Ebon Brood from the depths of West Crown's northern ruins. Whatever the case, the people of West Crown have long feared the night. But not you. Your goal is to reclaim the darkness from the beasts that hide within. You've acclimated yourself to the dark and thus act with greater precision in the shadow than most. When attacking targets in areas of dim light, you do not suffer the standard 20% mischance on attack rolls for being in a poorly lit area. Okay, so a couple of things right out of the gate. We don't get I actually feel like we don't get a lot of information about the Shadow Child. The only thing we know is that they're comfortable in being in the dark, and they are looking to take the darkness back from the beasts that are said to curse or to haunt West Crown. So let's think ability scores on this one. Dex comes to mind immediately. We got to start with Dex on one of the choices for the ability score, which leads us to I like Constitution on this one, actually. I think. No, Wisdom's tied to Perception. Perception is tied to Wisdom, I should say. Being able to see at dark, being more acclimated to the dark. I mean, I certainly have, you know, the ability to get low light vision or dark vision. Let's see. Jason, I don't mind giving the PC low light vision, but I feel like that's the job of an Ancestry feat or an Ancestry base, maybe even a heritage, and not a background specifically. Although if you're so acclimated to it, oh, that one's tough. And then Pickle points out intelligence, because you have to be smart and stick in the shadows to get the advantage. I don't mind that either. I'm actually spread between Int and Wisdom pretty evenly between the two. Dex is a no-brainer to me. I'm stuck between Wisdom and Intelligence. So we'll make that choice a little bit later. Trained skill, this one seems obvious. Stealth. There's no way you can't just go with stealth on that one. Let's see. A lore skill. Knowledge that ties to being acclimated to the dark. For wanting to take back the dark. Let's see. Nice thing about lore skills is we can make it very specific. How specific is too specific, though? This one, ooh, this one's interesting. This one's interesting. I don't think swapping out a lore skill for low light vision or dark vision is an appropriate trade-off. It doesn't feel right to me. It's too much one way and not the other. Lore is important here. Underworld doesn't really quite work. We already have the Conspiracy Hunter for Underworld. Jason, I like Arcane Sense for the feat. I like that. I'm going to look at that. What about... I'm going back to the lore skill here. At night, specifically. Something simple, but specific. Part of me wants to say, like the streets, or streetwise, or like the, you know, streets in the dark, finding your way in the dark. But how does that associate to a lore skill? Can it associate to a lore skill? Is Shadow a trait that monsters have? Hold on a sec. Is Shadow a trait that... Okay, Shadow trait. Magic involves shadows or the energy of the shadow plane. I like lore Shadow, though. Lore Skulking. That sounds like just a fancy way to get a lower DC on your stealth check, Mime. I don't disagree with you. But I could certainly see a player arguing to just make lore skulking checks instead of stealth checks all the time. I like it. Oh, astronomy. Jason, I like that too. I like astronomy. Okay, so I'm stuck between astronomy and shadow, actually, then. So let's go Shadow. astronomy. See where that leads us. Let's take a look at the skill feats available for stealth. I already have an idea on this one, and it actually doesn't necessarily have anything to do with it. I like Terrain Stalker. I like Terrain Stalker as the skill feat, but let's see. Select one type of difficult terrain from the following list: rubble, snow, underbrush. So let's go Terrain Stalker, rubble. Makes a lot of sense for me there. I like Arcane Sense. Let's take a look at that real quick. Arcane Sense. It's an Arcana feat. Your study of magic allows you to instinctively sense its presence. That's not bad. That's not bad, but I think I like Terrain Stalker Rubble better. I do. Okay. So that will bring us through Shadow Child for now. That's a good point, Mime. That was my thought exactly. Rubble makes sense between those three difficult terrain choices for certain, just because, you know, the streets at night in a city that's falling apart, there is bound to be rubble everywhere. Okay. Okay, so a real quick point out here. I planned on making this stream roughly an hour long, but I feel like we're really on a roll here. So let's actually keep moving forward a little bit. We still have... Let's see. We just did Shadow Child, so that leaves us two backgrounds to build yet. I think we can do that in a decent amount of time. Let's do two more. And I'm still not sure about Infernal Bastard. We're gonna come back to that one. I'm gonna really think about that one outside of stream and probably bring it back to y'all, because that one just, to me, I need to really look at Tiefling and really look at the benefits and negatives of a Tiefling. How can you make being a Tiefling negative, which I don't like doing. I don't like taking away from a player's heritage or an ancestry to give them something else. I mean, it's not a terrible idea, especially not in first edition. In first edition, it works very well with the layout it has. This just doesn't feel quite right. But anyways, yeah, I'm going to come back to that one later. Let's do the Pathfinder's Exile. Ooh, okay. West Crown's dilapidated Pathfinder Lodge of Delvehaven has long excited your imagination. Forcibly closed by the order of the city's diabolical rulers, the Pathfinders of West Crown were exiled, forcing them to leave behind untold knowledge and the treasures of countless expeditions. Today, Delvehaven lies under the pale of fearful rumors and dark magic, and bureaucratic red tape has prevented trespass on the lodge's well-protected grounds. Having secretly and illegally contacted agents of the Pathfinders, you've expressed your interest in aiding their ventures in Sheliax, with a particular eye toward investigating Delvehaven, the source of your long-standing adventuresome instincts. To your surprise, some days ago you received a message back from an unnamed Pathfinder operating underground in the country. Ooh, future book tie-in? Very likely. Along with encouraging you to investigate the lodge and report your findings to the Grand Lodge in Absalom, he's sent along a battered and tarnished, yet still functional wayfinder. You've promised yourself to pay back your unknown contact the 500 gold point cost of the item someday. sorry, that's funny because wayfinders do not cost 500 gold. In second edition, wayfinders are 28 gold, which is still a hefty sum. We talked about that a little bit earlier. It's a second level uncommon item. I'm gonna consider that one. Let's keep moving on though. A Wayfinder is a magical compass that grants you a +2 circumstance bonus on survival checks to avoid becoming lost, and can be commanded to emit light as the spell. Okay, so that is just not necessarily the case in second edition. Wayfinders don't do exactly that. But the big bonus that you get from this is just having a Wayfinder and an important, very likely important campaign NPC tie-in later on. So let's talk a little bit about the Pathfinder's society. We're just going to pull out the Pathfinder agent in the archetype section here. Oh, you know what? Let's go Pathfinder Hopeful. That's a background we might be able to actually reskin to an extent. Constitution or Intelligence makes a lot of sense. That's what we're looking at here. Choose 2 ability boosts for the Pathfinder Hopeful, Constitution or Intelligence. It's not my prerogative to straight copy-paste from one background to the other, but I do like both Constitution or Intelligence for that choice. Actually skews most of these traits towards Intelligence, which leads me to want to remove Intelligence from the Shadow Child background, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. Okay, let's go back here. You're trained in the Society skill. That's just a no-brainer for me. You're talking about the Pathfinder Society. Pretty straightforward. What kind of lore skill does this particular hopeful get? The Pathfinder Society lore skill? I mean, we're almost copy-pasting this. I don't mind, though. And then what do we get for a skill feat here? Additional lore. Additional lore. Okay, my question. Tell me what you think, chat. Ooh, Jason, I'm going to get back to your Infernal Bastard idea here in a little bit. I think I like that. Playing with the rarity tag on that might be a good idea, which is likely going to just require more thought from my process. But question for the chat. Do you feel as though a skill feat being replaced with a Wayfinder, an uncommon second-level item, is an even trade-off? Now, I know there's been a lot of chatter, both in the MNmaxed Discord, and even I've seen it some on the Pathfinder 2e subreddit, that the additional lore skill feat is an underrated skill feat. I would tend to agree, because if you're playing in a campaign where you know, because you've read the player's guide, players, please read the player's guide when you start an adventure path, roughly what type of enemies you're going to be facing. So additional lore is extraordinarily helpful, right? And again, it's an underrated skill feat. Do you feel like that trading off the additional lore skill feat, or even just a lore skill for a Wayfinder, is an equal trade-off? Let's look at the Wayfinder. Let's see. Functions as a compass, which is good. Compasses help with survival checks. You need a compass when you're making, when you're either sensing direction or navigating. Let's see. It can hold a single Aeon Stone, which you don't get unless we want to toss a dull gray Ion Stone in there, or sorry, Aeon Stone, just so that it can give off light. Oh, you don't even need to slot the dull gray Aeon Stone into it. You can just activate it. The Wayfinder is targeted by a first level light spell. Okay. What else? I feel like in order to be, I haven't looked at the Pathfinder agent archetype in a while. Isn't there a requirement? Be a member of the Pathfinder Society, which you're not. And you're from Absalom? No, that wouldn't be. What does this get you? Broadened your horizons and made you more flexible at various skills. You never know when 90 to You become trained in one skill of your choice, or expert in a skill of your choice from when you were trained. You will also become trained in Pathfinder lore, or an expert if you were already trained. So maybe something that gives you easier access to the Pathfinder dedication. But a Wayfinder's already 28 gold out of the gate. If you sold it, you'd make 14 gold if you really wanted to straight up just have a player who was like, oh, I want that 14 gold and not a Wayfinder. that might be a conversation that you have to have with your folks. So let's do this. Let's trade off a skill feat, because a skill feat is a lot, right? It doesn't feel like a lot when you're first getting into 2nd edition, because skill feats feel underpowered compared to previous editions. But let's do it. Let's do it. Instead of a skill feat, oh, get out of here. Instead of a skill feat, you get Wayfinder item. What do we think about bypassing the requirement to be in the Pathfinder Society to become a Pathfinder agent? Isn't maybe having a Pathfinder agent reach out to you already sort of including you in the Pathfinder Society? I'm going to put a question next to this one because I'm not 100% certain about it as far from a balance standpoint. Meet prereqs for PF agent archetype. Let's go Archie. Agent Archie. Okay. So there's a lot of trade-off in that skill feat to the Wayfinder item, and I feel like a skill feat has scaling benefits going up in levels, whereas a Wayfinder is just a level 2 item. So let's do like it. Let's do like your, you get that Wayfinder as an item as your initial benefit right off. You basically get light as a 1 level or a 1 action cast. There's no limit to it. You just get to cast light on the Wayfinder. It's a good solution for those who don't have access to magic or, you know, some other way or means of seeing in the dark. I like this. And I also really like bypassing the requirements to be a Pathfinder agent or becoming the Pathfinder agent dedication through the Pathfinder's Exile here. I am satisfied with that. I am satisfied with that. Yeah, Corey, I agree with you. Joining the Society is mostly table RP stuff. And they certainly indicate in this trait, this campaign trait, that you will be coming into contact with a Pathfinder agent later. I haven't read the books, so I don't know for sure, but that is certainly heavily implied here. So let's, you know, a free item, free access to the archetype dedication. If you so choose, you just don't need to be a Pathfinder agent. It gives you that access. I like that. I like that. And Pickle, you make a good point. Like, in a very real way, having a Pathfinder reach out to you kind of does make you a subcontractor to the Pathfinder Society. You've been given a task, even, from an unknown Pathfinder. I like that. Let's keep that. Which takes us to our last campaign trait/background conversion for the Player's Guide for Council of Thieves, and that is West Crown Firebrand. Oh, Firebrands. I love Firebrands. What's okay? I'm just gonna read this because I wonder how they're gonna get into it and how they're gonna pull it out. There's something very wrong with the world. Spouses were not meant to huddle at their windows, hoping and fearing day after day that their loved ones returned from work safely. Parents were not meant to hush their children when questioned about what happened to their neighbors. Citizens were not meant to avert their eyes and hurry by as a guardsman beat old friends in the street. The people of West Crown have suffered long enough. It's time for a change. But how? You've heard rumors of bands of free-thinking individuals meeting after the citywide curfew. Perhaps they might share your ideals. You're quick to react to opportunity, both physically and mentally, and know that it is with sudden and swift action that many conflicts are best resolved. Okay, I like this one's fun. I like this. Firebrands are just so cool. If you haven't read into Firebrands or the Firebrand lore, I highly suggest you take a look at it. I think, what is it? I think it's the Lost Omens character guide or the Lost Omens world guide has an entire section on Firebrands, and it's just lovely. It's beautiful. So, okay, the Firebrands. They certainly indicate that, you know, being quick on your feet, being quick thinking is important. And I'm going charisma, just because I know about what a Firebrand is, what they do. You know, you can't have that, like Corey says, viva la revolution with, you know, without having some charisma tied into that. So I like that. We're going to keep that there. Trained skill for a firebrand. Ooh, that's a good question. Now I'm actually going to pull out my character guide here because I'm curious. Firebrands. Oh, I know they're in here somewhere. Of course, I opened to the page where it's being covered by art. Firebrands. Where you at? There we go. Firebrands. The revolutionary. Scope and influence. The regional goals. Create lasting legacies. End tyranny. Help the displaced. Seek thrills. I love all of it. It's all amazing. Let's see. Dressing the part. Firebrand options. So rumor. I see a lot of these firebrand skill feats prerequisiting being trained or expert in deception. The following feats allow firebrands to easily hide among a populace or gather crowds around them. I like deception. It's not necessarily your intention to deceive the populace, but you're not deceiving the populace. You're deceiving the powers that be. I like deception. That works really well. Okay, so lore skill. Revolution. I don't know why. I love the idea of a revolution. Lore skill. Pickle, what do you got here? Strength or charisma. Added athletics seems like it could fit. I agree. But I also feel like a firebrand is dexterous before they're strength-based. And they're certainly charismatic over strength as well. Oh, hey, Newt. What's up, dude? We're actually just coming down to the end of it. I appreciate you joining us, but this will be available on the video on demand later. Are you kidding me? I might be in mono again. Son of a bitch. Why do you join me at this point in the night just to tell me that I'm still on mono? Good God. You know what? We're down to the end of the stream. I'm just going to have to fix that for next time. Channels for the sample rate, blah, blah, blah. Mike's auxiliary. Yep, we're going to check that later. Can confirm I am mono. Damn it. See, I told you I was a beginner at this whole Twitch string. Still haven't figured out OBS. You know, it's funny, actually, Newt, I fixed that in OBS itself, but now I'm using Streamlabs. Haven't fixed it in Streamlabs yet. I appreciate you like it. Yeah, the whole pretzel thing has just been playing music, I guess, in my ears this whole time. I didn't realize you guys weren't hearing it, too. We've only got this one thing left. Let's finish it real quick. A skill feat. A deception skill feat for our West Crown Firebrand. Let's take a look at the deception skill feats. Deception. Here we go. Charlatan. You've learned to mimic the abilities of spellcasters by studying their flourishes and words. That doesn't seem right. Charming Liar allows you to win those over you lie to. Maybe. Lengthy Diversion. When you critically succeed to create a diversion, you continue to remain hidden after the end of your turn. I like this one. There is one to quickly persuade, and I feel like that one is actually a diplomacy skill feat. I think is it group impression? Don't 2 targets instead of 1. That's not it. Maybe it's Hobnobber. No, that's gather information specific. Oh, Glad Hand. Glad Hand is the one. First impressions are your strong suit. They say that's a diplomacy and a 2nd level skill feat. I'm going to say no to that one. It's a little too high off for, or high up there in level for a 1st level character. I like Lengthy Diversion. But let's take a look at these other ones. Lie to me. You can use deception to weave traps to trip up anyone trying to deceive you. Maybe. I think I'm going to kind of put that one in the Charming Liar category. Like, you can certainly pick up on people lying to you, but I don't feel like that's very important for a firebrand. What's the secret speech? Spoiler for, oh, Age of Ashes. First level skill feat. I don't like this access, but let's take a look. Choose a secret society. Oh. You've learned that society's secret cant or jargon, enabling you to share hidden messages when signing or speaking with others who've also learned it. Oh, interesting. Passing on message using a society's secret cant or jargon. Okay, now I'm really torn. I'm really torn between secret speech and lengthy diversion. You know, lengthy diversion is the safe bet, I feel. Lengthy diversion is absolutely the safe bet. So let's go with that one. Lengthy diversion. All right. Well, aside from the Infernal Bastard, which we'll, get to later, Corey, I don't know if Firebrands count as a secret society. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to look into that. Like I said, I've got my character guide here. I'm going to read through that a little bit later. I'll get back to you. I still like lengthy diversion because if there's anything that a firebrand will be doing in order to try to maybe help the populace, save the common man against, a guard that's beating an old friend or, something of that nature, is to create a diversion to allow those people to get away. So I like lengthy diversion, or I like it a lot. Pickle, I don't mind that with Infernal Bastard. First level Tiefling feat for free and make it rare. Oh, that seems really powerful, right? It does. It does. An Ancestry feat in a background that's a big one. That's a really big one. I'm still going to think about that. Let's chat about that in the Discord later. Everyone, because I think that there's a really good chance that there's something special here with this Infernal Bastard campaign trait that we can really lean into the campaign with. So we're going to come back to that. I'll start next week's stream with my decision on what we're doing with that. So you know what? That's going to be it for tonight. That's going to be it for tonight. So what we've done tonight is we've actually converted all of, or nearly all of, the campaign traits over from the first edition to second edition. Now, I did this for Return of the Runelords as well when I was converting. I did not make it a requirement to use these campaign backgrounds, but it's certainly something to consider, pushing players towards if you're doing a conversion. It really brings them into the story out of the gate, and it's a good way to include, that process during character creation. So, like I said, I think that's a great place to end. We're almost on an hour and a half on the stream. I'm a little bit over what I was intending, but I feel like we got a lot of good stuff done. And I appreciate that. There's something I really wanted to do today before we took off. I've got a couple of things I want to bring up. First, let me actually bring the full webcam video up here. So the first thing that I want to bring up to you guys is I really enjoyed tonight. Tonight was a lot of fun. Getting to talk out the conversion process actually helped me a lot there. When I was converting the Return of the Runelords background or campaign traits to backgrounds, it took me a lot longer than an hour and a half because I wasn't talking it through with people, and you guys had a lot of fun. Or I'm sorry, I hope you had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun getting your input, which was really important to me in this process. So that was cool. Next week, we are going to start off by clearing up the Infernal Bastard background. We're going to then start actually converting. That's going to go a little bit faster, because I'm going to be pulling all of the DCs, all of the creatures. I'm going to put them into a list so that we can hit it one at a time, because again, I am not going to be showing the PDF for the first book of Council of Thieves on the stream. I don't want you necessarily to be gleaning info from that, so take that as you will. Next, look forward to, I'm actually unexpectedly have come into the possession of one of Beetle and Grimm's Absalom Gold Edition boxes. I've got it downstairs unopened right now, and I really want to do an unboxing video. So I will I will not open that box until we do a video on it, and I can't decide if I'm going to do a live stream for it or if I'm just going to record a video. I might do a live stream. We'll see how it goes, and if you guys show up, you show up. If not, you can check out the video after the fact. I just appreciate all you guys coming in to the stream tonight. Thank you for that. Next point of business, I am on Saturday going to be playing some games and just hanging out on Twitch. So if you want to come and join me for, just a good fun time, hanging out, just chatting, play some video games, that's what we're going to be doing, or that's what I will be doing on Saturday at 11 Central Time. And the last thing for tonight, and no joke, this is the most important thing for tonight. Today's a really special day, and I don't want to let any interaction I have with you guys on a day like today go by without bringing it up. Today is International Transgender Day of Visibility. This is so important because there's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now that is like we've got local legislators, state legislators who are literally attacking transgender people and transgender kids. And that's just, fuck, guys. I'm so disappointed with our legal system right now and the fact that this is just, it's so prevalent. There are like 240 anti-LGBTQI plus bills that are in 34 different states, which is just like, already in March is more than we saw last year. And there are some state and local legislators that are calling out how absolutely asinine some of the bills that are being put out there is. And it is absolutely ridiculous, the attacks that our friends are coming under. I know that I have people in my community who are transgender. I know that a lot of my close friends are either transgender or even like I know one of my very close friends is dating a transgender woman, and it's I've never been against transgender folks at any point in my life, but it never occurred to me until recently how important it is to speak up, to say something about it. People are under attack, and what people do with their lives and their bodies in their free time is no fucking business of anybody else's except for that person's. Stay out of other people's lives. Let them live in peace. Let them live happily. And if you know somebody in the transgender community, reach out to them. Let them know you love them, because it's important that they hear that. It's really important that they hear that. So, here's Swanee. Yeah, this is he makes a good point here. This is not just a Tyler opinion. This is a MNmaxed opinion. All of us are on the same page. We like to play the assholes to each other and pretend to play the assholes to other people sometimes. But, at the end of the day, it's just important that we love our fellow human beings. They're all super important. I love you all. I know I've got at least... Yeah, yep, okay. Oh, Eli popping in. Hey. Like right now, right? I love you all. But today I am speaking for all of the transgender folks in the Pathfinder community, in the tabletop community. I love you all. Truly. And I think that's where I'm going to end it tonight. Yeah, I think that's where I'm going to end it. Love you all. And until next time, we'll see you guys soon. I won't do it. Somebody pointed out, and I will do it. Love your fellow man. Reach out to your transgender friends, family, and just people out in the street and tell them you love them. Tell them you love them. It's your turn.